Hi, welcome to 3 a.m. Three Angel Messengers Motorcycle Association or Motorcycle Ministry, depending how you look at it. Just two bikers chewing on the word, trying to figure out this Bible and Jesus and everything else. Today, we're going to talk about Catch 22. And I'm joined with my counterpart, Brother Man. Say hello, Brother Man.
Hello.
So, I
Yeah.
guess we're going to start with Luke 20.
Yeah. And I can just tell you the story and then we'll read. But basically, there's a lot of jealousy toward Jesus, and they're trying to catch him in something that they can use against him. So it's what a catch-22 is? You've heard that term before.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. What's
So
your definition?
well, it's like it's a dichotomy. It's where either way you go is going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Both of them, it's a paradox. Both choices have problems with them, either way you choose. And so we're going to see a number of these that
So it's like an argument with your wife. No matter how you answer it,
yeah.
you're going to
Well,
be wrong.
okay, so I learned this, from old girlfriends before, because Audrey's really sweet, but old girlfriends do these blue jeans make my butt look fat? And I'm like, no, your butt makes your butt look fat. It's not the blue jeans, but you don't say that. But
Yeah.
here we are. We're going to look at this one. This one's
All right.
about paying taxes. All right. So they're ticked off with Jesus, so they thought they could trick him here. Look at 20 and verse 20.
All right.
What does that say?
So 20 versus 20.
Yeah.
20. Isn't that I think it's a TV show. Watching for their
Yeah.
opportunity, the leaders sent spies pretending to be honest men. They tried to get Jesus to say something that could be reported to the Roman governor so they could arrest Jesus.
Yep.
Teacher, they said, we know that you speak and teach what is right and are not influenced by what others think. You teach the way of God truthfully. Now tell us, is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?
All right. So pause.
Catch
So
22.
yeah, catch 22, man. So here it is. So Israel has been they've been basically sieged by the Romans. The Romans pretty much run everything. So Israel doesn't have its own country anymore. And the Romans are expecting things. And so elsewhere, Jesus said, hey, if they ask you to go a mile, go 2 miles. If they ask for your cloak, give them 2, give it to them. Turn the other cheek. He's always saying things that were completely out of their realm of thinking that, man, who in the world would do that for the Romans?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here, and by the way, the most hated Jews, besides Jesus, were the ones that collected taxes. All right, like Matthew and some of these others that were the publican. Remember, we talked about that before. They would collect taxes for Rome. And so these people are hated. And we don't like IRS today. You know what I mean? Nobody does. But these guys were particularly hated because they felt like they were trading out their whole identity, of a country and all of that. And so here they put him in this catch. Now, if he says yes, then what's he saying about his country? What's he saying about Israel?
Right.
Yeah. If he says no, what's he saying about Rome? Okay. And so here's this catch-22. Now, what does Jesus do with it?
It says,
what does he say?
Saw through their trickery.
Yeah.
And said, show me a Roman coin. Whose picture and title are stamped on it? He said, Caesar's, they replied. Well then, he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God.
Amen. And so they couldn't catch him. All right.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So people do that today as Christians too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're a Christian,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What do
The
you
one
do
out here.
about a God that tortures people forever?
Okay.
It's not in there.
That's not in there. I mean, sometimes, and then sometimes they'll ask us something, can God make a rock that he can't lift? I mean, that's the
Mm-hmm.
philosophy one that people like to
Right.
do. But here, Jesus, he sees through their trickery. And for him, it's beyond a catch-22 for him because he knows there's wisdom beyond their trickery. And you'll see it again. Let's go to another place. Let's go to Matthew 17.
All right. Matthew
We're just
17, what?
we're going to look at a couple of these. So let's
All
go
right.
to the end of 17. Let's go to verse 24.
All right.
All right.
Said, on their arrival to Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and asked him, does your teacher pay the temple tax?
All right. So what do you think about this? Well, there's a temple tax for the temple. This is beyond, like the Roman tax. This is another tax. And the main thing I want you to know is prophets and rabbis were not subject to the temple tax.
Uh,
Okay. And so here they're asking this, and Peter, which I'm a lot like Peter, I think you are too. We're kind of like sons of thunder too. But he's very quick to respond. That's just his nature. He goes, of course he pays it. Look what he says. Verse 25.
yeah, so yes, he does, Peter replied. Then he went into the house. But before he had a chance to speak, Jesus asked him, what do you think, Peter? Do kings tax their own people or people or the people they have conquered?
So
And
there it
before
is.
he had he answered, they tax the people they have conquered. Peter replied. Well then, Jesus said, the citizens are free. However, we don't want to offend them. So go down to the lake, throw in a line, open the mouth of the first fish you catch, and you'll find a large silver coin. Take it and pay the taxes for us both.
Dude, that's trippy. All right. Now,
Man,
by
why
the way,
can't I ever catch a fish like that?
yeah, that easy, especially with some money in there,
That's
some
right.
gold. But this is the first time Hook is mentioned here too. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, so what are we getting from this? Number one, Jesus is a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
He's more than a prophet, but he is a prophet. And he's able to do this that just blows us away, man. He said, yeah, go get that fish. That first one you're going to pull up is going to have that coin we need
Have the
to
tax
pay
in
this
it.
temple tax. Now, just because we know a little bit about Peter, I'm sure Peter made sure everybody knew where that coin came from, you know.
Right.
But here was another catch-22 because if Jesus didn't pay it, then they're going to be like, man, he doesn't support the temple. If he
Yeah.
pays it, oh, he's not a true prophet. He's not a rabbi then.
Mm-hmm.
So they had him in a catch-22. But he did something beyond that. He said, well, I'm not going to offend them, but go get that fish. I mean, the first fish, dude, that's a trip. So I don't know what
So
your
he
thoughts are,
gets
but
it
for me,
through a miracle, which proved he is
yes,
the Son of God.
exactly,
You
dude.
know, that he,
This is like,
yeah, man.
dude, this is better than anything you can imagine. All right, let's go
Right.
to another one. Let's go to John 8. What's our time at right now?
We've got about 10 minutes.
10 minutes left. Okay, so John 8. I'll just tell you the story here. John 8 is the story of a woman that was caught in adultery. And everybody wants to stone her. And you've probably
Mm.
heard this story that Jesus comes up there and begins to write into the sand
In the sand, right.
and sand. And he says, let he who's without sin cast the first stone. And all of a sudden they start dropping their stones and they walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they wanted to ask him though is like, shouldn't she be stoned? And
Trying to
that's the
catch him on it
question.
because the law says she got to be stoned.
That's
Right.
right.
Okay. All right.
Right. But when you read further into the story, the guy that slept with her, he crawled out through the window and he wasn't caught. And according to Leviticus 20, both of them were to be stoned.
Mm.
not just the one, both of them. And so here, though, the catch 22 is, do you stone her? Because Moses says such a one's to be stoned. And then the other flip side of it is, if you do stone her, that's a seditious act because you're under Rome.
Right.
You're not at liberty to do something like you're no longer a theocracy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the catch 22 there. Okay. Now we're going to
So
go
you
back
either do
a
what the
couple of
Bible says, but if you do that, you get the Romans after you, and they could catch
yeah.
him, breaking the Roman law. Okay, all right. They try to
You
catch him
agree?
again. All
So
right.
that's right. And so he's beyond them and he writes into the sand. More than likely, he wrote all those names of the ladies that those dudes had been with. That's my suspicion.
Yeah, he wrote.
You know,
I
he
always
wrote
thought he wrote their sin down.
their
Yeah.
sin and probably those names. It might have
Mm-hmm.
just been like Tabitha, Mary, all these different names. And when he wrote it there, all of a sudden they see that name. They're like, oh my gosh, this dude is beyond us. And then they just, so, but yeah, so that one's a trip too. All right. So we'll look at a couple more. And this one's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Go to John 5. I think this is the one I want to do. Oh, here's another one before we even get this. So we've kind of looked at this before when Jesus is on the cross. You
Yeah.
remember the devil tempts him and says through those people, they said, he saved others, himself he cannot save. Let him come
Yeah.
down from the cross and we'll believe on him.
Right.
There's a catch 22. All right.
Yeah,
So,
because the devil's trying to get him to use his divinity
that's right.
to
Prove it.
prove
Prove
it.
it, buddy. Come off the cross. And man, we know he's divine. He could have come off that cross,
Could have.
but he chose to die as a man. And so there's one there too. But here's one. This one's interesting. In John 5, you might know this one. This dude is laying by a pool. He's paralyzed.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this one.
And yeah, in verse 5, it says he's been laying there 38 years, man. That's a long time. Okay.
Right.
38 years. And then Jesus comes up to him and says, do you want to be made well? Isn't that a trippy question to ask somebody that's been laying there 38 years waiting to be healed because they
Right.
believe that when the waters move, they'd be healed?
Mm-hmm.
And then the sick man, verse 7 says, sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water stirred up. While I'm coming, another steps down before me. And then look at verse 8. I want you to read it for me.
So Jesus told him, stand up, pick up your mat, and walk.
And what happened? Verse 9.
Instantly the man was healed. He rolled up his sleep mat, began walking, but the miracle happened on the Sabbath. So the Jews
So
leaders objected. They said, go ahead.
That's good. Yeah, well, you can keep going. Keep going.
The Jews leaders objected. They said, who has cured? Who cured the man? You cannot work on the Sabbath. The law doesn't allow you to carry the sleeping mat.
Yeah.
Everybody replied, the man who healed me told me, pick up my mat and walk.
Yeah, I ain't going to
And he
argue
said,
with him, right?
yeah, they
This
want to
dude
argue.
healed
They
me up and-
forget about the miracle that just happened and worrying about
Right.
the law of the Sabbath.
Okay, so here you get it. That's the catch 22
Right.
is, are you going to heal on the Sabbath or not? And we know he's able to heal every single day. And he chose to heal on the Sabbath on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's John 5 where he heals somebody on the Sabbath. Now we're going to go to John 9, but I want you to hold your finger here in case we have to come back to it. So go to John 9. Let's go to John 9. And you may have heard about this healing. This is the dude that was born blind. And the thing is, when you're born blind, your actual connectivity in your brain isn't going to work right. So even if it had just been a cataract, like let's say you had a cataract on one eye, even today, when my wife pulls the cataract off, they will cover the good eye to allow the one that the cataract was removed from to establish its strength and get everything flowing that it needs to flow for vision.
All
And
right.
because if you just leave this off, it'll be a lazy eye. It'll be really weak. It won't have the sight that it needs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here, this guy, he's born blind. He has no vision whatsoever.
Doesn't even
So
know vision. Has no idea what
doesn't
it
know
is
vision.
to see. Right.
That's right. And this is really trippy what happens here. Do you remember the story without even reading it? You remember how Jesus heals this dude?
Yeah, mud.
There's mud.
Yeah, he spit in the ground, made mud, and then he put it over the guy's eyes.
And told him to go wash it off at the certain pool.
Right.
Okay. Now, do you remember what day this was?
Sabbath.
It was on Sabbath. And verse 13 is where you start picking that up. They brought him who formerly was blind to the Pharisees, and that was the Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. And the Pharisees also asked him again. Look at this again, because they've already asked him. They're asking him again how he had received his sight. And he said to them, well, he put clay on my eyes. I washed and I see. And some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God because he does not keep the Sabbath. Others said, how can a man who is a sinner do such miracles? And there was this division among them. In verse 17, it says, they said to the blind man again, what do you say about him? Because he's opened your eyes. He said, he's a prophet. But the Jews did not believe concerning him that he had been blind and received his sight until they called the parents of him who had received his sight. And they asked them, saying, is this your son, whom you say was born blind? How then does he now see? And his parents answered them and said, well, we know this is our son, and we know he was born blind, but by how he sees now and what happened to open his eyes, he's of age. We don't know. He's of age. You ask him. They kind of threw him under the bus. Did you notice
man.
that?
Yeah.
They're freaking out, scared. And it says 32, it says they did that because they feared the Jews. And because you weren't supposed to confess that Jesus is the Christ. They were against that. So then they're asking him again and again, and they're saying, now, how did he heal you again? And he's like, look, man, I already told you. He made clay and he put it on my eyes and I washed and I see. And they're like, this happened on the Sabbath? Now, bro, how was the other dude healed that had been laying there 38 years? Do you remember? How did Jesus heal him?
Told him to get up and walk and carry his bed.
He spoke.
He
spoke, and the
right.
dude was healed on Sabbath.
Right.
Here, he's made clay.
Right. So he worked. In the Jewish eyes, he worked.
Yeah, he worked. But here's what I'm getting at. Where is the other place where we see God speaking and making clay?
It's when he made humans. He made us.
All the way back in Genesis 2.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, man.
So Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, those two creation accounts. He formed us of the dust of the ground. He made clay.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, they're putting this together. And do you know what they're putting together? They're putting together who Jesus really is. He did this on Sabbath because he's Lord of the Sabbath.
Right.
The Sabbath points to him as creator. And he's trying to show them, man, you guys' understanding of the Sabbath is way mixed up. The Sabbath is a gift for you. It's not against you. Sabbath is for you to chill out, sit in your hammock, enjoy being with your family.
Enjoy the creation that he created.
Yeah. And so here they're catching on, man. They're realizing who Jesus is. And then the blind dude finally says, well, don't you want to follow him too? You know, you can see this. And boy, they got their goat then, because they're just like, no, we're Moses' disciples, you know, and we're not going to follow him. And they were all upset and they kicked him out. And then Jesus finds him and says, hey, man, you know, why don't you follow the Son of Man? And he's like, well, who is that? He's like, it's me. I healed you. So, you know, it's pretty cool. It's a cool story. It was a catch-22 in all these different instances, because here it's like these people's understanding of what it meant to keep Sabbath is so rigid. It
Right.
made it a burden rather than a blessing.
Right.
They added a bunch of laws on, but they saw this as work to spit on the ground. Did you know that?
Yes.
To spit on the ground would move the dirt and it was just like, really? So, and even today, if you like go around New Jersey and stuff, New York, they won't turn on the light switch. They won't turn it off on Sabbath either. They will not touch the light switch, but they won't turn it on. And they pay little kids to go in there and turn it on for them. It's so silly because it's
Well,
just like,
like they
really?
have, you know, the laws that Jesus nailed to the cross are the 613 Levitical laws. He didn't put
Yeah.
the 10 Commandments on there. It's all
No.
this
Yeah.
stuff that keeps you from enjoying the Sabbath and enjoying the
Right.
grace of God and the beauty of his creation and healing on
Yeah.
the Sabbath and things like that. He got rid
Yeah.
of all the 613 Levitical laws and only kept the
Yeah.
10. That's
Yeah.
what
And
people just don't understand. If they just read the Bible, they'll see it for themselves.
right. Right.
I'm
And
just a
if there was
biker,
ever,
dude. I don't have a
I
scholar. I
know.
don't have never I've been to a little bit of college. I'm not that
Yeah.
smart of a man. But if I can read the
Yeah.
Bible and that's what it says, that's what I'm doing,
Amen.
bro.
I hear you. Well, that's it. But this is the thing is like there's catch 22s, and I think God's people would put more into catch 22s as well. But here's some good examples that Jesus always finds that third option
Mm-hmm.
that I just believe it comes from a wisdom from the Lord that's just like amazing. That it could be something that you've never even thought of, and it's a way out. It's an
Yep.
escape, a way out of whatever that situation is. But it's pretty cool that this is who he is, man. He's the creator.
It's awesome.
He's the one that was there, creation and creating man.
Yep.
So,
I've never put those two
yeah,
together. That's incredible right there.
yeah. Ain't
So
that fun?
that's some
Yeah,
good
it's good
stuff,
stuff.
man. So
Yeah.
we'd like to thank
Well,
y'all for joining us here for our Catch 22 podcast. Catch
yeah.
us next time or maybe catch a fish. I don't know. We're out.
All right, man.